As I started settling into my new apartment, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. The building was old and creaky, and the walls seemed to whisper secrets that I couldn't quite make out. But I dismissed my apprehension as the natural fear of a new place and decided to focus on making it feel like home. My name is Mia, and I've always been a skeptic, someone who needs proof and logical explanations to believe anything. But that all changed when I came across the old mirror in my bedroom. Let me tell you a little more about myself. I'm a recent college graduate trying to make it on my own in the big city. I moved to this new apartment to start my new job as a junior editor at a publishing company. I'm excited about my new position, but the move and the new environment have been a little overwhelming. The mirror itself was nothing special, just an ornate antique piece that came with the apartment. I was initially drawn to it because it was so different from anything I'd seen before. But as the days went by, I began to notice strange things happening around it. The mirror seemed to reflect more than just my physical appearance. Every time I looked into it, I felt like there was something else staring back at me, something sinister and foreboding. The more I tried to ignore it, the stronger the feeling became. I started to avoid the mirror, but it was always there, calling out to me. It was as if it had a mind of its own, and I was powerless to resist its pull. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I caught a glimpse of the mirror out of the corner of my eye. I turned to face it, and as I looked into it, I felt a chill run down my spine. The reflection staring back at me was not my own, but that of a dark and twisted version of myself. Its eyes were black as coal, and its expression was a sneer that sent shivers down my spine. I tried to back away, but I felt my feet rooted to the spot. I was trapped, and the mirror knew it. It was as if it was feeding off my fear, gaining strength with every second that passed. Suddenly, the reflection reached out towards me, its hand breaking through the barrier between the two worlds. I tried to scream, but no sound would come out. I was trapped, alone with my worst fears. When I finally broke free from the mirror's hold, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The mirror had claimed me as its own, and there was no escaping its dark power. It had opened up a gateway to a world beyond, and I, Mia, was the unwitting victim of its sinister plot. From that moment on, I became obsessed with the mirror. I spent hours researching its history and trying to uncover the secrets that it held. But the more I learned, the more I realized that I was in over my head. The mirror was cursed, with a dark history that went back centuries. It had been passed down from generation to generation, leaving a trail of death and destruction in its wake. And now it had claimed me as its latest victim. I knew that I had to get rid of the mirror, but every time I tried, it seemed to resist my efforts. It was as if it was alive and determined to hold on to its power. As the days turned into weeks, I became increasingly isolated. I stopped going to work, stopped answering my phone, and stopped seeing my friends. The mirror had become my entire world, and I was its prisoner. But then, one night, something changed. As I stared into the mirror, I felt a surge of power course through me. I hesitated, but something inside me compelled me to look. As I gazed into the mirror, my reflection began to distort. My face contorted into a grotesque version of myself, eyes glowing with an unnatural light. A chill ran down my spine, and I stumbled back, struggling to break free from the mirror's grasp. But as soon as it had started, the distortion stopped, and my reflection returned to normal. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was just a trick of the light or a momentary lapse of my mind. I tried to leave the bathroom, but my legs wouldn't move, and my heart began to race. I looked back at the mirror, and this time I saw someone else staring back at me. It was a woman with long dark hair and piercing blue eyes. She looked almost identical to me, except for the fact that her eyes seemed to be filled with an intense malice that sent shivers down my spine. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice shaking. The woman in the mirror smiled, but it was a sinister grin that sent chills down my spine. "I'm you," she said, her voice dripping with malice. I backed away, feeling like my own reflection was taunting me. I turned to run, but my legs wouldn't move and my heart pounded in my chest. The woman in the mirror laughed, and I realized that I was trapped. I tried to reason with her, to plead for my life, but she just kept laughing. She began to step out of the mirror, and I knew that there was no escape. I closed my eyes, bracing myself for the worst, but when I opened them again, I was back in the bathroom alone. The mirror was once again reflecting only my own image. I shook my head, thinking it was all a dream, but when I looked in the mirror, I saw a glint of blue in my own eyes that hadn't been there before. I knew then that the woman in the mirror had left a mark on me, and that she would always be a part of me. I left the bathroom, feeling like I had just narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. From that day on, I avoided mirrors whenever possible, afraid of what I might see staring back at me.